The movie showed one thing, archaeology tells another. Here's the truth about the Battle of Thermopylae, one of the most mythologized battles in history. 480 BC, a Persian army of 100,000 to 300,000 men marches on Greece. King Xerxes leads the greatest army the ancient world had seen. Against him, a Greek alliance, and at the vanguard, 300 Spartans led by King Leonidas. The film showed us bare-chested muscular warriors fighting in slow motion, Xerxes as a 3-meter god king, the battle as a spectacle. But what do archaeologists say? What do ancient sources say? And why is the real story even more impressive than the Hollywood version? Today we'll open the box with the truth about Thermopylae and learn why 300 Spartans is only part of the story. To understand Thermopylae, you need to understand the scale of the Persian Empire. By 480 BC, Persia controlled territories from modern India to Egypt, from Turkey to Kazakhstan. This was the largest empire the world had seen. King Xerxes assembled an army that was supposed to end Greece once and for all. Ancient sources give the numbers. Herodotus, 2,641,610 soldiers. Modern historians, 100,000 to 300,000. Even the minimum estimate of 100,000 was an incredible force for that time. In the vanguard marched the Immortals, an elite guard of 10,000 of the best warriors. They were called this because if one fell, he was immediately replaced. The number always remained 10,000. The Persians also brought elephants, war chariots, archers from different peoples of the empire. This was a multinational army unlike the world had ever seen. Why Greece? Persia had already tried to conquer Greece 10 years earlier. In 490 BC, Darius I's army landed in Attica and was defeated by the Athenians at Marathon. Xerxes wanted revenge. But not only revenge, he wanted control of the Aegean Sea and trade routes. Greece was fragmented. Hundreds of city-states constantly fought each other. Xerxes calculated they wouldn't be able to unite. He was wrong. In 481 BC, 31 Greek cities formed an alliance against Persia. This was unprecedented. Eternal enemies united against a common threat. Athens provided the fleet, Sparta, the army, Corinth, ships and soldiers. Sparta was represented by King Leonidas I. He was from the Archaead dynasty, one of Sparta's 2 royal families. Leonidas was about 60 years old, not young for a warrior of that time, but he was an experienced commander and respected leader. Here begins the first myth. The film shows 300 Spartans as the entire Greek force, but this isn't true. At Thermopylae, there were 300 Spartans, royal guard, 700 Thespians, 400 Thebans, possibly several thousand other Greeks. Total, 7,000 to 8,000 soldiers. Why exactly 300 Spartans? Because this was an elite unit, the Royal Guard. Each of them had passed through the Archaeology, the most brutal military training in the world. From age 7, boys were taken from their families. From 20 to 60, they were in military service. They couldn't engage in trade or crafts, only war. These were professional killers, and Xerxes knew it. Thermopylae, Hot Gates, is a narrow pass between Mount Kallidromos and the sea. In 480 BC, the pass was even narrower. The sea came closer to the mountains. Width of the pass, about 15 meters at the narrowest point. Leonidas chose this place deliberately. Here the numerical superiority of the Persians didn't matter. Greek tactics, the phalanx. A tight formation of heavily armed warriors with long spears, dory, and large round shields, aspis. In the narrow pass, the phalanx became invincible. The Persians couldn't outflank it. Mountains on the left, sea on the right. Day 1. Xerxes sent Medes and Scythians, light infantry. They attacked in waves. The Greek phalanx stood motionless. The long Spartan spears, 2 to 3 meters, reached the Persians before they could get within range of their short spears. The Persians retreated with huge losses. Day 2. Xerxes sent the immortals, his elite. They were better armed, but the tactics remained the same. The phalanx held again. The Spartans used a trick. They pretended to retreat. The Persians charged forward, losing formation, and the Spartans turned and struck. The Persians retreated again. Xerxes was furious. But Xerxes had a trump card. A local named Ephialtes showed the Persians a mountain path that bypassed Thermopylae from behind. Xerxes immediately sent a detachment along this path. On the dawn of the third day, Greek scouts discovered the Persians were outflanking them from behind. Leonidas called a war council. Most of the army left. Their mission was accomplished. They had delayed the Persians for 3 days. Those who remained: 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, 400 Thebans. By some sources, they were held against their will. Why did Leonidas stay? Spartan law forbade retreat. A king couldn't flee from battle. But there was also a strategic reason. The main army needed time to retreat and regroup. This wasn't a suicidal gesture. It was a tactical sacrifice. When the Persians attacked from 2 sides, Leonidas led his men to the open area, the wider part of the pass. Here they could use their long spears to the last. When spears broke, they took swords. When swords broke, fists and teeth. Leonidas himself fell in battle. The Persians tried to capture his body, but the Spartans repelled 4 attacks. Finally, the Persians used archers. A hail of arrows fell on the remaining Greeks. The last Spartans took up position on a hill and fought to the last. All 300 Spartans died. Along with them, 700 Thespians. The Persians lost about 20,000 men over 3 days. The Greeks, about 4,000, including those who left earlier. Xerxes got the pass, but he lost time, men, and morale. Archaeologists have excavated the Thermopylae area. They found remains of fortifications, spearheads, Greek and Persian, coins from that period. But the main thing, the bodies of warriors, they didn't find. The battle happened 2,500 years ago. Organics didn't survive. The main sources are Herodotus, who wrote 40 years after the battle, and later authors. Herodotus mentions 300 Spartans, but he also mentions other Greeks. Later authors, especially Roman ones, exaggerated the role of the Spartans. Myth 1. 300 against millions. Reality: 7,000 to 8,000 Greeks against 100,000 to 300,000 Persians. Ratio of 1 to 15 to 1 to 40, not 1 to 1,000. Myth 2. Spartans fought bare-chested. Reality: Spartans were heavily armed hoplites. Bronze armor, helmets, shields, spears. The film showed them semi-nude for drama. Myth 3. Xerxes was a god. Reality: Xerxes was a man, tall, possibly handsome, but not a 3-meter god. Myth 4. Spartans saved Greece. Reality: Thermopylae was a tactical defeat, but they delayed the Persians, demoralized them, and gave the Greeks time. The real victory came later, at Salamis, naval battle, and Plataea, land battle. Why is the myth of 300 Spartans so persistent? Because Sparta itself created this myth. Spartan propaganda worked effectively. 300 against all. That's a great slogan. The Romans picked up the myth. The Renaissance, too. Hollywood completed it. But the truth is even better. This wasn't a story about 300 heroes. It was a story about 7,000 Greeks who chose tactical sacrifice for strategic victory. Thermopylae changed the course of the war. The Persians lost 3 days. This gave Athens time to evacuate the population, gave the fleet time to prepare. The moral effect was enormous. The Persians understood the Greeks wouldn't surrender without a fight. The Greeks understood the Persians could be stopped. A month after Thermopylae, the Greek fleet crushed the Persian navy at Salamis. Xerxes fled home. A year later, the Greek army defeated the remaining Persians at Plataea. Thermopylae didn't save Greece, but it made salvation possible. On the battle site, they placed a monument with an epitaph by the poet Simonides. "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie." These lines have been quoted for 2,500 years. From ancient Greeks to modern films, Thermopylae became a symbol of resistance against impossible odds. From Zack Snyder's 300 to video games, from books to political speeches. But the real lesson of Thermopylae isn't about 300 heroes. It's about tactical sacrifice leading to strategic victory, about discipline defeating numbers, about unity in the face of threat being strength. So what really happened at Thermopylae? Not 300 Spartans, 7,000 Greeks, not bare-chested warriors, heavily armed professionals. Not a suicidal gesture, a tactical sacrifice for strategic victory. The truth about Thermopylae is even more impressive than the myth. This isn't a story about superhumans. It's a story about ordinary people who chose duty over life. And it worked. A month later, Persia was defeated. A year later, expelled from Greece. Subscribe to the Box of Ages channel. In the next video, we'll descend underground and see what secrets ancient underground cities hide.